We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis in Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 33b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara brought a brisa that the jugs of Ovdei Kochavim, if they've absorbed the wine of Ovdei Kochavim, so you're allowed to put fish brine or fish stew in them immediately, because that essentially will anyways nullify the taste of the wine that's absorbed within the jugs. And the Gemara now asks, Lechatchila odievid, is this Lechatchila? Can you even in the first place right away put in the tzir and the murias, the fish brine and the fish stew, or is it just after the fact? If you put it in, then we would say that it's not prohibited. And the Gemara says, Tashma, come here the following proof. The Tani Rav Zavid Baroshia, because Rav Zavid Baroshia taught, Halokeach kankanim in ovdei kochavim, if one buys jugs from the idol worshippers, Chadashim, if they're brand new, so then no sin l'sochan yayin, then he could put wine in there. It's not a problem because they haven't absorbed anything, they're brand new. Yishanim, if they're older, so now they've absorbed the wine of the ovdei kochavim, no sin l'sochan siru moris lechatchila. Still, he's allowed to put in fish brine or fish stew, even lechatchila. It's not a problem. Again, it nullifies the taste. And the Gemara continues, Boy minei Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya me Rabbi Yami. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya asked Rabbi Yami the following question. Hechziron lekiv shana eish. Let's say he returns these vessels to the furnace. V'nislabnu, and they become white. Mahu, what's the halach in that case? Is that a way to kasher these utensils? And the Gemara says, Amar Lei said to him, Tzir soref, if we're saying that the fish brine can burn away the taste of the wine, and we say that the earthenware vessels, we say that the jugs are permitted in that case, so orlo, kol shekain, so fire, certainly that would work to burn away any remnant of the wine, and it's not a problem. And the Gemara continues, Itmar Nami was stated as well, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, V'amri lo Amar Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, some say that Rabbi Asi says, that Rabbi Yochanan says, Kankanim shel ovdei kochavim, the jugs of the ovdei kochavim, shechziron lekiv shana eish, again they return to the furnace, kevan shenashra zifasan, once the tar melts away, kevan shenashra zifasan mehen, once the tar melts away from them, again from the heat of the fire, mutar, and they become permitted. Amar Rav Ashi, and Rav Ashi says, Lo tema ad nasran, don't say that it has to completely melt away, peel away completely. Ela afilu rafoi mirfa, even if the tar just softens. Afagav de lo nasr, even though it doesn't peel away, even though it's not removed, it still is going to be permitted. And the Gemara continues, Kinsa, when it comes to these small pieces of wood, Rashi explains, Kinsa hichnes kismin dolkin l'socha kankan, they would take these pieces of wood, small pieces of wood that were on fire, and they would put them into the kankan, into the jug, ad shenashra zifaso, and then that would actually, again, that would melt away, that would remove the tar. So what if they use that method? The question is that going to be an appropriate method to kasher? And so the Gemara says, by kinsa, again, pligi bar Rav Acha v'Ravina, that's machlokus between Rav Acha and Ravina. Chad osar v'chad shari, one says it's prohibited, and one says permitted. V'hilchasa command osar, and the halach is like the one who says that it is prohibited. And the Gemara says, they had the following question. What about if in these older vessels you put in their beer? Is beer going to nullify the taste of the wine that's absorbed? Rav Nachman and Rav Yehuda Asri, Rav Nachman and Rav Yehuda, they say it's prohibited. It's not going to nullify that taste. The Rava Shari, and Rava says that it is permitted. According to Rava, again, it is going to nullify the taste. Ravina Sharalei Rav Chia Braid Rav Yitzchak Lemirma Beishech. Ravina, he permitted Rav Chia, the son of Rav Yitzchak, to put in beer in accordance with Rava. Azal Rama Bechanma, but he went ahead and he made a mistake. He put wine there instead of beer. But even so, he wasn't concerned, meaning he wasn't concerned that if we allow people to put in beer, they're going to mistakenly put in wine. Because Amar, he said, Akroy Bialmahu, that was just an incident that happened. It's a one-time thing. It's not something we have to be concerned about for the future. And the Gemara continues, Rav Yitzchak bar Bisna havalei hanu moni de pakusna. Rav Yitzchak bar Bisna, he had vessels that were made of cow dung. Malinu maya, he filled them with water. Anchinu b'shimsha, he placed them in the sun, and paku, when they burst. Amar le Rabbi Abba said to him, Arsartino aloch isura diliolam. You've now made them forbidden to yourself forever, meaning to say now they're completely unusable because you put them in the sun and they burst. Eimor damar rabbanan mimalinu maya. Granted that the rabbanan say that you should fill them with water, that's a way of kashering. But anuche b'shimsha miyomer, did anybody say that you should place them in the sun? And Rashi explains, the pakusna shel tzefiyei bakar, again of the dung of cattle, v'nasan behen yayin nesach, and there was yayin nesach that was placed in these vessels, isura diliolam, so he said, now you've made them forbidden forever, kilomar ivadatam al chinam, that was just a way of saying that you've destroyed them for nothing. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yosna, Amar Abami, Rav Yosna says that Rav Ami says, Klei Neser, natron vessels, ein lo tahara olamis, they can never be purified, they can never be kashered. My Klei Neser, what are these Klei Neser? Amar Rav Yossi Baravin, Rav Yossi Baravin says, Klei machbores shel tzirif, they are vessels crafted from the excavation of alum powder. And Rashi explains, Zain lehem tahara, they can never be cleansed, mi yayin nesach hanivla behen, they can never be cleansed from the yayin nesach that's absorbed in them, mishum debli tova, because they absorb so much of it. Machbora shel tzrif, Rashi says, karka, this is earth, shechofer misham tzrif, that they dig out of there, they excavate from their alum, uvela as alam, and in our language it's referred to as alum. And the Gemara continues, Devei Parzik Rofila, Parzik, who was from the house of the second to the king. Rashi says Parzik is Shem Ho'ish, Parzik is the name of the person, Rofila means Sheni Lamelech, again, the second to the king. Anas Hani Kuvi mi Pumbedisa, he stole some vessels from Jews in Pumbedisa, and Rama Behu Chamra, and then he put in some wine. Adrinu Nihilayu, then he returned it to them. Asu Shailu Rav Yehuda, they went and they asked Rav Yehuda, what can they do? Amar, he said, Davar Shein Machniso Lakiyim, this is something that they're not putting it in there to stay there for a long time, and so therefore Meshachshechon b'mayim vehein mutar, and you can scrub it with water, and they will be mutar. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Avira says, Hani chatzvei shechime da'aramoy, these dark brown Aramean jugs, kaven de lo bali tuva, since they do not absorb a lot, meshachshechon b'mayim umutar, and again you can scrub them with water, and they are permitted. Amar Rapapi says, Hani pasvosa de michsi, these earthenware vessels of michsi, kaven de lo bali tuva, they also, since they don't absorb a lot, meshachshechon b'mayim umutar, and you can scrub them with water, and they are mutar. And the Gemara continues, Kasi, with regard to cups, and Rashi explains, Kasi, kosos shalcheres, these are earthenware cups, vein machnison, lakiyam, you don't put it in there for preservation, elishosin bahem, rather they just drink from them. And so there we have a machlokas amoraim as follows, Ravasi osar, Ravashi shari, Ravasi says that it is prohibited, and Ravashi says it is permitted. And the Gemara explains, Ishasi bo'ovet kochavim pam rishon, if this is the first time that the idolater is drinking from it, he's pouring in his yayin nesach, and it's the first liquid to go into this cup, kuliyamalo pligi daser, there's no argument, everybody agrees that it is forbidden. Ki pligi b'pam sheni, they're only arguing if it's the second time. And the idea over here is that the first time it's certainly going to absorb a lot, and therefore you have to be strict. It's only the second time already, there it's possible to say that it is permitted. And Rashi explains, Ishasi behu ovet kochavim pam rishon de kuli al maaser. Everybody agrees that if it's the first time the idolater is drinking from it, it's aser. The aidi derechichi, since it's a soft material, boli, it's going to absorb, vasir, it's going to be forbidden. Rashi says, ad sheyamal mayim shlosha yamim uchid amron, until you fill it with water for 3 days, it's still possible to kasher. This is talking about the fact that it's prohibited before you kasher it. Again, everybody agrees it's going to be prohibited if it's the first time. The question is if it's already being used the second time, that's already a machlokas, whether it's prohibited or permitted. And the Gemara continues, Ika diamri, there are those that say as follows, a slightly different version. Pam rishon v'sheni, the first and second time, kuli amalo pligi da'aser, everybody agrees it's forbidden. Ki pligi b'pam gimel, when are they arguing? They argue the third time. And the Gemara says, V'hilchasa, and the halacha is, Pam rishon v'sheni aser, the first and second time it's forbidden, gimel mutter, the third time it is permitted. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Zavid says, Haimoni de kunya, with regards to glazed earthenware vessels, Rashi explains, kunya kleicheres mitsupa be'aver, this is earthenware vessels that are glazed with lead. That's Rashi's opinion. Others say that it's glazed with glass. In any case, chivra v'uchma shari, if they are white or black, then they are permitted. But yeroka aser, but if it's green, then it's forbidden, mishum de mitzraf, again, because then it contains the alum that was mentioned above. Rashi says, yeroka aser, mishum de mitzraf sheyesh bo karka machbora shel tzrif, again it has from that earth that they excavate the alum powder, uvoli tvei, and therefore it absorbs more, and that's why, again, when it comes to yeroka, when it comes to green, we are more strict, as the Gemara says, yeroka aser, mishum de mitzraf. Again, if it's green, it's forbidden, because it has the alum. V'yisbuhu kartufni, and then the Gemara says, if there are cracks, kulu asiri, then they're all going to be forbidden, whether they're white or black or green, they're always going to be aser. Rashi says, kartufni b'koi mustakim, again, that refers to cracks. And the Gemara continues, Darash Mereimar darshaned as follows, Kunya, when it comes to glazed earthenware, Bein Ochma, Bein Chivra, Bein Yeroka Shari, it doesn't matter if it's black, white, or green, it is always going to be permitted. And the Gemara says, Ma'ishna mi chametz b'Pesach, what's the difference between this and chametz on Pesach? Devo mi name Mereimar, because they asked Mereimar, the same Mereimar we just mentioned, Hani moni de Kunya, if you have glazed earthenware, Ma'u lishtam mushe behu b'Pescha, what's the halach in terms of using it on Pesach? And Yeroka lo tiboilach, if it's green, you don't even have a question. The mitzar for yuvoli, because again we said it has alum and it's going to absorb, vasiri, therefore it's prohibited. Ki tiboilach chivrei v'uchme, the only question is going to be by white and black. And so what's the halacha there? And the Gemara says further, Ki yisbu kartufne, when it has cracks, lo tiboilach, it's not a question. Devadai boli ve'asiri, because certainly again, it's going to absorb, it's going to be prohibited. Ki tiboilach teshi, the only question is if it's smooth. So what is the halacha again with regards to these glazed earthenware vessels? And the Gemara continues, Amar, he said, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video, on Daf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph.